Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 5th episode of the Morning Meta for Friday, October 14th. My name is MTarget, as always. Welcome to this show, whether you are watching it live on Twitch, a rerun on Twitch, on the recording on YouTube, or if you are listening to this over on the Stay Free Podcast Network. Thank you very much for joining me. So again, Friday, so that means we're doing a little bit of results and a lot of what's coming up next. And there's a decent amount to talk about here, so let's get right underway. As always, we will start in the world of League of Legends. World's going on right now. A lot of the important stuff going on in Chicago. So let's get right there. So last night, we saw Cloud9 versus Samsung Galaxy. Pretty much every analyst that I saw talking about it said that they thought that Samsung would win. There were some people who said that they hoped Cloud9 would win. There were some analysts who picked Cloud9 just because of how crazy the previous weeks were, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, everybody was saying, let's be honest, Cloud9's winning this. Or not Cloud9's winning this. Cloud9 is losing this. Samsung is winning. Which is what happened. In a blowout. It was actually kind of painful at times. The thing that made it worse was the fact that the crowd, now remember, they're in Chicago. If you're not familiar with Chicago sports fans boo everything. They literally last year, the Chicago Bears fans, their NFL team last year, literally booed when they announced who they drafted. For no reason. I mean, they were unhappy with something, of course. That's why they booed. But Chicago has a booing history. But that said, the fans booed not just when Samsung was announced, but as each individual player was introduced. It was bad. And it didn't help that everybody online was super offended by it as well. And so it was a little bit awkward. Getting some weird feedback. My apologies. But with that said, Samsung Galaxy took it in stride. They just decided to wipe the floor with them. My favorite tweet was, I believe, Monte Cristo tweeting saying, well, obviously the crowd was booing Cloud9 because Cloud9 didn't decide to show up. Which was awkward, but also kind of true. So, it was a bit of an awkward series to watch, in terms of just raw. It didn't feel very balanced. It felt like Cloud9 was just getting blown out of the water at times, and it was kind of like, guys, there's a game. Hello, guys. So, anyways, that's Cloud9. Tonight, move on to the projected stuff. Actually, no, let's not move on to the projected stuff. Since we're talking about people getting in trouble and things being awkward, let's talk about the owner of IMA really quickly. So, for those of you who don't know, IMA was already in trouble because one of their players told Forgiven to go die. He made a bunch of insulting comments about Koreans, blah, blah, blah. Well, it turns out that the systemic racism in China doesn't know how to keep its mouth shut. And the owner of IMA Whites, who's a former League of Legends pro, and who also has several Korean imports. This is where we're going to go ranty for a little bit. So if this is the part of the show that you liked on Wednesday, you're in luck. We're doing more of it. He tweeted this, or he didn't tweet, he wrote this long-ass post, and somebody then translated it, and now he's going to get in trouble. Talking about how Koreans are awful. I believe he called them slaves and cattle. He talked about how organizations need to stop importing Koreans, and they need to stop using Korean slave talent. That's where the slave came in. It was bad. To which I say, first of all, dude, you are an owner. You are expected to have better sense and better attitude than that when you represent a brand, particularly when you are representing a brand that is a part of a significantly larger audience. Obviously, because it is a organization that is owned by a single person, himself, and as far as I can tell, IMA is not super beholden to sponsors. They may have some non-endemic sponsors, but really, it's IMA. There was no major branding surrounding the organization when I looked them up. But that said, you cannot do that and expect to be able to walk away. The fact that it was translated into English means that Riot can't ignore it. A lot of people think that if it hadn't made it to the English-speaking community, if it had just stayed, on the Chinese message boards, that nothing would have happened because Riot China and Tencent aren't going to snitch. But that said, Rito, proper Riot English, has to respond now. Good riddance. Also, here's the real rant part. You are in China. All y'all have way too much money. All y'all have the infrastructure, and you already worship League of Legends players like gods. Which means, quit wasting your money on Uzi, quit wasting your money on Korean imports, and build up a freaking infrastructure and develop a Chinese mentality that is able to actually compete. Seriously, if you're going to complain about Korean imports, stop importing them, develop your own freaking talent, and make it work. That's simple. Be like in the United States complaining about Canadians and Europeans. If you don't want them, don't hire them. Really, that's that simple. If you are going to complain about players in other regions being better than you, get good. Start developing your own infrastructure. Do not keep importing Korean players and paying them because they're the best and saying we want to win, and then complaining when you try to copy and learn from them, but aren't competing against them on a regular basis, and so they're continuing to get better against themselves instead of trying to build your own method. And I'm not saying that you can't build your own while still importing players from that region. What I'm saying is if you're going to complain about it, stop doing it. And at the same time, each region, this is everybody, not just China, but China is the one with the most money right now. Get your shit together. Really all there is to it. Apologies for the language. Moving on, let's talk about schedule here. Speaking of China versus Korea, SKT versus Royal Never Give Up. Some people think that RNG has a shot, but I mean, again, a lot of analysts are saying just put the Korean teams in for the semis, and, if not the finals. Excuse me. That Saturday, we have the best of 5 between the Rox Tigers and Edward Gaming. Again, Rox Tigers, I'm expecting to see them do fairly well here. EDG also did, unfortunately, I believe it was EDG. One moment, I need to look this up because I don't want to get it wrong. Mouse. Yes, is currently playing for EDG, or was. He had to fly home yesterday unexpectedly. He had a death in his family, and so Saturday, Edward Gaming will be playing with a substitute top laner because their top laner is home dealing with his family's lost, and my thoughts. I would say but I don't have a production crew, so it's just me. My thoughts go out to him and his family, and hope that everything is relatively smooth. And then lastly, on Sunday, we have the only non-Korean game, H2K versus Albus Nox. I'm rooting for Albus Nox. I really don't know what to expect this series because H2K shit the bed week 1 and then blew through the competition week 2. So H2K probably should win this. I'm rooting for the Russians. Plain and simple. I've got Albus Nox going not all the way, but to the semis. And then they're playing Samsung Galaxy. So With that said, that's sort of it in terms of upcoming for League of Legends this weekend. So that'll be the quarterfinals that goes through Sunday in Chicago, and then next week will be the semis and the finals back in Los Angeles. So that's really about it for League of Legends. My little rant is out of the way. Moving on, we have ourselves some Dota to talk about. Dota. No, that's more than that, I promise. Dream League is going on. That is a Tuesday through Thursday thing, and I completely missed. I will own that Monday and Wednesday I was not prepared for it. But E League is getting started, and I will be covering it in more depth in the future. Certainly some fun games. Certainly quite enjoyable to see what comes out. Liquid had a very they lost their first best of 2, and then they split their second best of 2, and you could tell in each game they were getting more comfortable with each other, and it was obvious that they didn't have a whole lot of time. And because they won their last game, they got the winner's interview, and they asked Bulba, how long have you guys been playing together? And Bulba said 5 days. So not a lot of time. But that's, I mean, when you don't have everybody in one place, there's no competitions to play in. It's hard to get scrims sometimes in the off season in Dota. So it is what it is. With that said, Dream League's fun to watch. It's quite the experience. If you have not watched it before, it's the outside of the summit, which is a super condensed experience of it. The casting, at least, is a very casual professional in terms of both posting and then actual casting. It's quite a lot of fun. And then the gameplay, though, in Dream League, because there's a significantly larger amount of money online than Summit typically has, they tend to be taking Dream League, especially in groups, and then going in towards finals a little bit more seriously. And of course, as Dream League does move on to the LAN stage, they do all tighten things up and clean up the act and have a little bit more seriousness going on. But it's just the right amount of shenanigans to have going on in your day, in my opinion. It's quite a lot of fun. So Dream League is happening. Also, it's extra interesting because we're seeing a lot of tier 2-ish teams, a lot of tier 1.5 teams get invited because a lot of tier 1 teams said, sorry, we're out because of the Boston Major. And to which I say, this is why Valve needs to really work on trying to get stuff scheduled further out. Again, I do think that Valve is working on it, and I think that Valve is doing a better job with it every single major, but they need to maybe get a little bit faster with this, so that way Valve's major system is not, super impacting things. I mean, and it can be as simple as Valve saying, hey, excuse me, voice crack there, we're looking to do something in, December, March, August of, or this season, I guess, so the end of 2016 into then 2017. And then the end of 2017, we're going to do something in November. And then in 2018, April and August, whatever. Just give months even, just to say that's what we're looking for. And then as soon as they start getting stuff booked, that's fine. Because I do understand that people think, and it makes sense, that Valve was trying to do something in CIS, but couldn't get visas, get the visa situation sorted beforehand in terms of, talking to governments and trying to get that stuff sorted out. And when they found out that, too many countries were going to have an issue, they ended up swapping back to the United States because it's relatively easy for Valve to get that sorted because, well, they are a United States company. But again, that's Boston Major stuff. It's a lot of speculation. Not necessarily my place because I don't know. So that's Dota, though. Again, it's fun. I enjoy watching it, but nothing crazy is happening right now. Though the BAT Invitational will be coming up in the next month, and so some more ramp up stuff will be here shortly. So, but speaking of majors and minors and drama, let's talk Counter-Strike. There is a minor system that Valve introduced where pretty much Valve has their majors, some very similar to Dota, only instead of there being TI, there's just majors. There's no, this is the world championship. It's just who's the best. Okay, move on. Who's the best? Okay, move on. Okay, who's the best? Move on. But what Valve introduced was a minor system as well, where you would have a North American miner, a European miner, an Asian miner. There's a couple more, but those are the three that are currently having drama. Drama number one. There were some people complaining that Renegades were invited to the Asian minor. What people don't remember is that Renegades are still technically an Australian team. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty details on this one because I don't know. I just saw a couple angry tweets about it, and I chuckled. At this point, invites are invites. You just kind of roll with it in Counter-Strike. Like, it's such a mess that, especially when you're a fan, you just kind of accept where you're at and move forward. It's outside of the fans when the org start complaining that you go, okay, I think something's actually wrong here, or okay, I think they've got a point. To which I say, European minor invites, what people are complaining about that, as well as the Australis major invite that is expected, because Australis only has 2 out of their 3 starting players from the last time they competed. See Kerrigan benching that we discussed on Wednesday. So it's interesting because there are a lot of European teams that are actually apparently, there is rumor of Virtus Pro taking legal action, which I don't know how you can justify legal action against an invite. But, that's just one source that I saw. The other major point is that a lot of people are complaining because there is some minor conflict, or there is some significant conflict with a minor scheduling versus the Epicenter LAN. To which I say, again, you're dealing with Valve. This is what you're going to get, Counter-Strike. This is what's going to happen when they introduce smaller stuff, and you just kind of are going to get screwed by it, and yeah, it sucks. Welcome to Dota's life. Are you sure that you want to keep being more like Dota? Didn't think so. So, with that said, we're gonna kind of have to wait and see what happens with all of this. It's more just this rumblings and these complainings and the murmurings and yammerings and all that jazz. And realistically, I don't know what to say about it. I'm not entrenched in it, so I don't have my ear to the wall of the Virtus Pro house as they're complaining or any of that stuff. And I get it. I really do understand why people aren't happy. But at the same time, this is how esports works in the current atmosphere. I get that Counter-Strike is trying to change it, but in the way that Counter-Strike is changing it, most of the time they're just adding more and more and more events for schedule conflicts. Deal with it. Y'all are the ones that made this environment the way that it is. And again, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Not saying it's a good thing. I'm saying that is the current environment and the current bed that you have made. If you made your bed with military-style corners or hospital-style corners, it's going to be hard to get into. And you can't complain when my bed's hard to get into or when I don't like that I have to untuck my bed before I get into it. That's on you. Plain and simple. That's on you. So, again, the other FPS, Overwatch. A lot of action this weekend in the APAC, or this week, in the APAC Premier and the Apex League in Korea and China, respectively. North America and Europe still doing well against the two regions. North America and Europe doing a little bit better in China than Korea, but not much. Korea's more just showing a bit more of a fight. They're both getting good games across the board. However, in China, NA and Europe are kind of dominating. In Korea, they're bleeding. Not a lot, but they're bleeding. So I look forward to seeing what happens as Apex moves forward. It's quite a lot of fun to see international competition like this. And also, people again are freaking out about our Korean overlords. To which I say, if you develop your talent, similar to what I ranted earlier about in League of Legends, if you are watching this on the Twitch rebroadcast and you missed that because you tuned in a little bit late, don't you worry, it will be back up soon. And you can just watch it in all its glory. But, as I said before, don't complain about other regions being better than you. develop your talent, and bring it to the table. Plain and simple. Really, that's the only point that I really feel like I can make about this is, okay, Korea's great at other games. They've been great for a long time. We know how they practice. We know how they do things. If we don't want to do things exactly the same way they do, fine, but we can also find a way to do things to either keep ourselves ahead of them in FPSs or catch up to them in MOBAs, in my opinion. There is nothing inherent about, oh, this kid was born in Korea, therefore he's automatically going to be amazing. No, that's not how it works. We all know that. Everybody's a person. Everybody's a gamer. Okay, not everybody's a gamer, but you get the point. So that means that there's no excuses. And so far, I haven't heard from a single pro in Overwatch, or even many pros in Counter-Strike, outside of some joking comments in both sections about Korean overlords. They're not worried about Korean overlords. They're saying, I look forward to, in Overwatch specifically, because that's what we're talking about, they've said, I'm looking forward to international competition. I am looking forward to seeing how they play, and I'm looking forward to see if they do anything differently that we may want to adapt. That is an attitude that I like to see, and that is an attitude that I, as a caster, love, and as a commentator, love, and as an analyst, think is the way to do it. I mean, look at it. That's what the Russians did. That's what Albus Nox did. They went, yeah, we got hosed. Nobody wanted to scrim us because we weren't scrimming. We get it. We're going to go. We're going to compete. We're going to learn. And what are they doing? That's right. They're top 8. They're guaranteed a decent chunk of the prize pool now, boys. Let's go. Also, Licrit is still sick, unfortunately, but supposedly, not contagious, so that means he should be able to compete. And luckily, due to the schedule, they are at the very end of this weekend. So, good for that. So that's Overwatch. Smash, Melee, and Smash 4. Nothing really going on right now. Just some rumblings, ruminations after Big House 6. Excuse me. Street Fighter 5. We are in the final stretch before Capcom Cup. So look forward to more information on when Capcom Cup specifically is. Not quite sure, details on the final players just yet, as there is, again, sort of last chance stuff going on now. We are coming up on Killer Instinct World Championship as well for that. Also, Tekken's premier circuit will be starting shortly, as is the King of Fighters rumors about some significant tournaments for that title as well. So I'm looking forward to all of that. So there should be plenty of to talk about for the FGC in the upcoming weeks. Also, guilty pleasure time here. I've personally been prepping for a Rocket League cast. Just was something that I sort of got signed up to do. And the RLCS, the Rocket League Championship Series, that's been put on by Twitch and Rocket League. Whew, wow. I did not realize just how good that stuff was, between the players actually being top tier and the casting being pretty damn good as well. Good stuff. I quite enjoy the change of pace that Rocket League brings to things. So if you're interested, Rocket League going on this weekend as well. I believe that is Saturday for their games. I believe that's twitch.tv/RLCS. So that's the guilty pleasure. Not really a tier 1 esport, kind of a tier 2. Feel like sharing it, might as well, because it's my show. So speaking of my show, my name is MTarget. You can find me on Twitter at MTargetProduct. You can also find this show on Twitch if you want to watch the video. Twitch.tv/MTargetProduction. Live recordings every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at approximately 7:30, assuming I don't sleep in. And you can also find it on YouTube, searching Morning Meta. I am also testing out the Twitch upload feature, so you can watch it on Twitch under the uploads section. And also, lastly, if audio is more your style, you can check out this podcast on the Stay Free Network, stayfree_GG, with a group of content creators putting out other great podcasts as well. Be sure to check out all of their stuff. Also, stayfree_GG on Twitter, and you can join their Discord and hang out with that content creator community via the link on the Twitter there. So thank you all very much for tuning in. I certainly do appreciate it. One of these days we'll actually hit the 30-minute mark on the nose without going over or under, but that's going to require me to work on my pacing, and let's be honest, when I get excited and ranty, that just doesn't happen. So, thank you all very much for tuning in. Certainly do appreciate it. Hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you all on Monday.